What's up? Welcome in. It is Friday. We finally freaking made it to our first Friday back for a lot of people, except for the people, again, on Facebook that can't really see us right now. Give me a second here. I'm working on it. But as you know, because we made it to Friday, because we've already seen an incredible football game in there, because I'm about to throw this camera out the window that can't seemingly give us a great connection, and because we appreciate all of you for sticking with us while we're still working out issues here to start 2026. But give yourselves that collective pat on the back. Made it to Friday. Last night made it a little touch and go. Made it a little intense. Made it a little goofy. Made it a little crazy. Kind of like what Facebook's doing right now. Give me a second, Facebook people out there. And yes, we do have people that watch us on Facebook. Not on MySpace, but on Facebook. What a freaking night, man. What a freaking night. You got Roz checking in early on this Friday. Both factual statements. It is Friday and Reef cannot stop anything. I don't know where to start today because there's so many different ways we can play. First of all, Vegas Mac and TJ, my two guys, my co-pilots on this program. I'm going to ask our parent company, the people that help us put this show on, Wavegate Media, to run a documentary / mini series on turning our group messages into an actual show. The boys were on one last night, man. Did that game not look like almost a carbon copy of the Sugar Bowl, especially in the second half? And if that is a slight teaser as to what we're going to get this weekend, oh my God, I don't have enough beer in the house to enjoy 4 more days of football like that. Of course, we'll get into that. If you're watching along, feel free to comment along. We'll get as many of them up on the screen. People out in Facebook world, you should be good to go now. Really starting to get under my skin with that one. Plenty of stuff to get to today, though. And as I mentioned right off the top, where do we start? Trae Young wanted to be a Wizard, as we told you the other night. That literally happened as we were doing the show on Wednesday. Now the Grizzlies are open to offers on a move of Ja Morant. What have we been waiting for here? Have you not seen enough examples of why to move on from Ja Morant? And if you're Ja Morant, it's a good thing for you, too. Get out of there. Let Memphis go their way. Build around JJJ. Get Ja Morant somewhere else. See what happens. NBA viewership up to its highest ever through this point of the season. I think that's incredible. I think it's incredible for a couple of different reasons. One, we've talked about this on the show. You know I'm a nostalgia guy when it comes to my basketball stuff. The NBA on NBC being back, I think, has a lot to do with it. The Amazon Prime group, they've done a fantastic job with it as well. So I think just having new outlets and fresh approaches to things helping. We told you on Tuesday's show, most watched NFL season since 1989, but streaming's going to kill football. Yep, nope. They keep producing it. We keep watching it. We know the NFL is going to an 18-week schedule. Somebody pointed this out on X the other day. I thought it was brilliant. And of course, I can't find it in my file of pictures that I screenshot to give people credit. So I apologize. But with the NFL wanting to go to that 18-game schedule and the Super Bowl being over President's Day weekend, so we all as sports fans get that day, most of us will get that day to recover from the Super Bowl. What it's going to do to the college football playoff landscape. A lot of people bitching about why we play the college football season primarily on Saturdays. I mean, it is college football, so people are going to find a reason to bitch anyways. I think there is some truth to that. I mean, it is the game last night. I mean, you're in a perfect spot there. Thursday night, right after the Thursday night football schedule of the season kind of ends. So it fills that little bit of a void. The Friday night game, Oh, you don't want to watch a game on Friday night. Well, good on you. I know what I'm going to be doing tonight. I can't friggin' wait to watch Oregon and Indiana to decide who your national champion's going to be. Yes, I said it, Miami fans. Maybe. I think there's a definitive answer to who wins tonight's game if Indiana has a shot or not. Indiana or Miami is playing for a national title for the first time since 2023. Or 2003. Sorry, not 2023. Cut 2 decades out of existence there. On their home field in their visiting uniforms. And if you think about the general landscape of college football, like think of how many teams can actually do that. Obviously, we saw the Rams win a Super Bowl in their home stadium. We saw the Buccaneers have to win every game on the road to win a Super Bowl in their stadium. Same position, ironically, the 49ers are in this year. But in college football, it's damn near impossible to play the national championship game on your home field. Let's think about it for a second. Who can actually do it? Miami. I know it's not on campus. That's going to be the first thing, since everybody likes to find ways to just add more hate to Miami. Not saying they don't bring a lot of it on themselves, but yes, it's not on their campus, but it is their home stadium, and that's the point of the conversation here. UNLV could do it. Next year, they'd have to do it, though, because the national championship is in Vegas next year. That's going to be a friggin' scene. Who else could do it? USF could do it for a couple more years. I don't know the exact timeline on their stadium, but I'm pretty sure they're getting an on-campus stadium built, so that's going to be out because I don't know where Raymond James Stadium. I think this is Vegas Mac checking, and he's probably still in the wrong email if you missed that one yesterday. The most Vegas Mac of all Vegas Mac things. But quite the feat for Miami and quite the run for Miami. We're going to get a lot more into last night's game. A couple of other headlines passing around right now. The Miami Dolphins, who we talked about yesterday, adding another coach to this list. 8 head coaching openings, 25% of the NFL open. And we might not be done. Sean McDermott, Mike Tomlin. Other guys that could be on the list that aren't on the list yet. I don't think the Steelers make a freaking run and run Tomlin out. I don't. I think he bought himself another year. Whether Steelers fans like that or not, I don't know. They're Arthur Smith. I mean, if you're a Steelers fan today, you're waking up going, please, Tennessee, hire Arthur Smith. Let Aaron Rodgers decide to come back, play another year for Coach T, and make Aaron Rodgers the offensive coordinator. I know that would make Vegas Mac very happy. But the Dolphins finalizing a general manager's deal with John Eric Sullivan, of the Green Bay Packers to be their next general manager. So interesting stuff there. Obviously, Harbaugh's name out in the middle of the mix, the belle of the ball, if you will, the Mike Vrabel of this year's openings in the NFL. He came out yesterday and said that he is going to wait until late next week before interviewing. That's smart. Because another name that could pop onto this list, we're hearing some minimal chatter on. I don't agree with this if this were a move to be made, and I don't think it's going to be made, but Matt LaFleur's name, he's another guy that possibly Green Bay looks at and they go, yes, we had a lot of injuries down the stretch here, but yes, this is a guy who's gotten us into the playoffs several times, and he can't get over the hump in the playoffs. So smart move by Harbaugh there. Hey, you were just at some place for 18 years. It's going to take you a little bit of time to kind of reset what matters to you in your next step. Every indication has told us that Harbaugh is going to coach next year. There's people floating out. And again, be careful where you get your information here. I saw somebody float out that Harbaugh's demanding $20 million a year. $10 million for his staff pool, full control over the roster, and picking the GM. That's what some people are throwing out. Again, I'd be careful in where you're getting your news. You got Ross checking in, another one. I think there's a couple of teams. I mentioned it with the Cardinals. I think Mike McDaniel is a very, very genius offensive mind. That's why you've already seen teams like Detroit that have said, hey, we want to talk to you about being our offensive coordinator. You imagine Mike McDaniel with that group? I know it's Vegas Mac for sure here because of the follow-up message to that. He meant Mike McDaniel also. I think that'd be a great fit for them as well. I don't know about Rodgers, if he's, obviously none of us know if he's coming back. He's been kind of coy in those responses as of late. I don't know about the relationship of Aaron Rodgers and Mike McDaniel. I'm sure there's some kind of tie there at some point. But I think it's a smart move by Harbaugh because, again, you could have Buffalo open. I think there's probably always a possibility that maybe Pittsburgh or Mike Tomlin want to go a different direction. Again, I don't think so. I think he's bought himself another year there. I mean, and that sounds absolutely crazy to say, but here's the other thing with the Mike Tomlin situation as we look at super wild card weekend. Mike Tomlin's lost 6 playoff games in a row. Second longest streak by a head coach of all time, second to only Marvin Lewis, who lost 7 in a row. Mike Tomlin can equal Marvin Lewis if they can't get the job done on Monday night. A lot of people dispatching the Steelers already, though, for that Monday night game, and I can't say that I agree with that. Anthony Streetco's Davis, he got hurt again last night after just coming back from getting hurt. A hand injury now for him. Haven't seen anything as of yet, but I don't think any of us are really surprised, are we? I mean, the guy can't stay on the damn court. That's why I think it's laughable, all these people that are connecting the Warriors to Anthony Davis. That's not what the Warriors need. The Warriors need a lot more than that. And how many teams are actually going to be interested in trading for Anthony Davis, and why would Dallas make him available at this point? You're going to get Kyrie Irving back maybe late this year. You knew the risk when you traded for Anthony Davis. Well, maybe one guy didn't know the risk and he's out of a job in Dallas, but just another injury for a guy who, when he is healthy and on the floor, is one of the better players in the NBA. But how much do you trust him to be healthy and stay on the floor is the question there. As promised today, we will have our 12 best. It's technically 11 best player props. Mac went off the reservation on one of his, and I tried to find it somewhere where I could put it in a play. I haven't been able to find it. I know it's out there, but for the sake of getting it done in time for the show, we have 11 favorite player props. We'll blame Vegas Mac. I'll tell you what it is later. But we've got a game to talk about, and we've got a game to talk about. Glendale, Arizona last night. The Fiesta Bowl produces yet another gem of a Fiesta Bowl. And I got to give TJ credit for this because he was the one that called me out on it earlier this week. And Matt kind of did a little bit more in just like the analysis of the game last night. TJ told me, don't dismiss it. It's going to be a better game than you think it is. And he was dead on, balls accurate. One of our favorite sayings on this show. Because that was a freaking game, man. Bad night for the we don't need the college football playoff crowd last night. 25 points in the fourth quarter, 28 in the second half as Miami gets a 31-27 victory on the legs of Carson Beck of all things. Again, sometimes I can show you parts of our group text, and sometimes I can't. I mean, I can, but it gets a little out of hand sometimes. There was a play late in that game last night before Carson Beck scampered into the end zone for the game-winning score. My fingers are not working with my brain right here. That I couldn't understand what the hell the concept was. I mean, it was a broken play. It looked like a designed quarterback run. And I literally text the guys, I go, what is Miami thinking here in this situation when you're trying to keep yourself in field goal range. And they run what looked like it was a designed quarterback keeper. And I text the boys and I go, nice job, Dawson, referring to Shannon Dawson, obviously the offensive coordinator of Miami. Run a designed QB run play with a guy who runs like a drunk baby giraffe. Not even like 5 minutes later, the drunk baby giraffe finds his way into the end zone in one of the images of this college football playoff, I think. One of the dominant images. Him running into the end zone in front of the Miami fans. If you tried to watch the video, Michael Irvin, surprise, jumped in front of the camera shot of all camera shots for a guy. Then jumped in front of the referee, then walked on the field. But hey, his passion is great for the game. Carson Beck, man. We were waiting for it again last night. The game got tight. The tipped pass interception. We've talked about it a lot. Does Carson Beck stay on the run that he's on, or when do we get to the Carson Beck that, like, he throws a pass and we're like, what are you thinking? Like, what could you have possibly seen there? Man. We talked about the threshold. What was the point number that Miami had to get to offensively, because Ole Miss was going to make them score points, and they did. We talked about Kawan Lacey and coming into the game with the shoulder injury, and if he was going to get banged up, you know, how did that affect the game? He got banged up, but it was a hamstring. It wasn't the shoulder, but he missed a significant amount of time in the first half. Two really weird halves in this game. I mean, it also kind of worked out. We covered the over. I did. TJ was on the under. And I thought if we were going to get a lot of points in this game, it was going to be kind of a late kind of situation. Well, 25 points is a hell of a way in the fourth quarter to get you over a 52.5 number. But when you go into it and you dive into the nuts and bolts of looking past just the score and looking past, you know, who did what on the box score, and you look at what separated this game, you're really confused last night. Maybe you had to work last night and you missed it, or you missed the first half, and then you see Ole Miss going on what seemingly was the same kind of run they did against Georgia in the second half of the Sugar Bowl. You're trying to talk about a stat sheet not telling you anything about the game? Well, last night's stat sheet absolutely does. Miami was 2 for 2 on fourth down, 11 for 19 on third down. Ole Miss didn't attempt a fourth down conversion and was 2 of 10 on third down. Yards per pass, 7-1, 7-2. Pretty even there. Rushing attempts, 51 rushing attempts for the Canes. 3.7 yards per carry. But we've talked about this a couple times in the postseason. Who is going to be stubborn enough to stay with the running game when it's not working? One of the keys that, again, I'll get into here on the Peach Bowl. Oregon tonight has to run the football no matter what. And I think the blueprint that Miami put down on the table last night is exactly what you need to see out of Oregon tonight from Davison and Whittington. Miami ran it 51 times for 3.7 yards a carry. That's being stubborn and committed to the run. Because you saw it, in Herbie and Fowler last night talked about it in the late game stretch, especially on that final drive. Ole Miss was gassed. Time of possession, 41-22 to 18-38. The Ole Miss defense was on the field for 41 minutes last night. $88 plays. And you saw it at the end of the game. Everybody that, you know, as much as I busted on Shannon Dawson's play call on the Carson Beck designed run, botched, miscommunication, whatever you want to call it, was that not genius what he did on the play that Beck scored the touchdown on? 3 receivers to the left. Malachi Toney getting all the attention, as he should have. I'm going to talk about the greatest catch you've ever seen that didn't count. You saw it last night if you were watching that game. I love this picture. There was a couple other wide shots where you could see how high up off the ground he was, which was ridiculously high. Look at the dude in the lower left. Maybe it's your lower right. Can't really totally tell inverted camera, but you'll see him. You got Tony up there. You got the DB for Ole Miss. Guy right next to him. Like, he's already going, holy shit. But all the attention on that left side of the field, and they crossed everybody over to the right. One of them Ole Miss D linemen gets freaking pancaked down, doesn't get up off the ground at all. Doesn't even look like he tried to get up off the ground. Everybody's flowing to one way. Carson Beck I could have scored on that one. So Miami now will do something that's never been done. Playing for a national title on their home field in their road jerseys. You know, if Indiana gets there, Indiana fans are going to show up and show out. There's a ton. If you haven't seen anything so far today, there is a ton of Indiana fans in Atlanta. And there'll be a lot of Oregon fans, but you know Indiana's going to outdraw anybody on this run because this is something none of us ever thought we'd see in our lives. Indiana football being good. Indiana football being undefeated, 2 wins away from a national title. Miami's got a home game. I know it's not on campus. Interested to see the crowd lay out there. Mac brought up an interesting point when we were talking about some stuff in our X Factors on Tuesday's show. And I asked Mac at the end of the show which national title game he thought we were going to see and which one he would like to see. And the one thing he brought up was Oregon and Miami because a lot of people hate both of those teams equally. And I think it's a very fair point. Well, that's a possibility now, isn't it? Wouldn't you know it's a possibility? But maybe the thing that we're not talking about is maybe the underlining narrative of the CFP playoffs. Because remember, a few people, it was Carson Beck versus Georgia. That's what we're going to see. Maybe it's Mario Cristobal against the guy who replaced him. Nicole Orbach on Twitter last night. X, whatever you're calling it these days. The Mario Cristo Bowl. Maybe that's what it is. Oregon's got a tall task in front of them tonight. A real tall task. Because this Indiana team does not make mistakes. This Indiana team does not get rattled. I absolutely freaking can't wait for this game tonight. For a lot of reasons. Number one, the moxie of these two head coaches. Who genuinely, honestly respect the hell out of each other if you've seen any of the pre-Peach Bowl media stuff. These guys have a lot of respect for each other. Two very damn good football coaches. Two coaches of teams that play intense. They play fast. They play physical. Your national champion gets decided tonight. Great story, Miami. I think either one of these teams tonight beats Miami. I think Miami-Oregon is a closer game. As good as Miami's defense has been, I don't know if they can stop Indiana. And just hear that for a second. Whether you agree with me or not, I don't need you to agree with me. That's part of what makes sports great. You can think I'm freaking crazy. The U, baby, they're back. I can't argue that point right now. Carson Beck, all the freaking flowers in the world. I think Oregon-Miami is a very compelling matchup. I think Indiana-Miami could get a little ugly. And that's why I think your national champion comes out at tonight's game. Obviously, we have plenty of time between now and the national title game, so who knows? Physical game could take a lot out of both of these teams. One of Oregon's biggest Achilles heels this year has just been able to get their full staff of weapons, if you will, healthy and on the field. Look at how many games DeCorian Moore's missed this year. I'm I'm I am fascinated to see this tonight. It's another thing Max said earlier this week that I think has a lot to do with what we see tonight is, you know, can Oregon force Indiana to turn the ball over? Something that they don't do. What does Indiana do if they get smacked in the mouth right away? Because the only comparative points, and this is something T and I talked about, the only comparative points that you have between these two teams is both of them against Penn State and both of them against Iowa. Both of them won tough games against those two, and then the game against each other. So I think we have a lot of cross points, if you will, that we can take into this game tonight. Kind of funny how both of them struggled and had to get late wins against Penn State. Iowa, when you play Iowa, they play a brand of football that tends to lead to a physical, low-scoring game, and both of them were. I think what we saw in Indiana and Oregon against Iowa is more closely related to what we see tonight than Indiana and Oregon in their games against Penn State. But man, for a Friday night on a weekend full of NFL wildcard football, incredible stuff tonight. Oregon held Indiana to 326 yards. That was tied for their lowest of the year. And the Oregon D-line, if you watched that game, really kind of had the upper hand, D-line to O-line. 326 yards. The difference is, and this is what Indiana does to you, and this is why I liken them to the Seahawks the other night. What Indiana does to you is they get you in those like second and long, third and long, those bad positions where you're on the negative side of the game script and behind the sticks and whatever other cliche you want to use. And that's when they really attack you. I mean, you saw what Seattle did to the Niners. You've seen what Indiana's done to basically everybody this year. You've seen them put people in bad positions and feast on it. But between Tuioti and Uiagalelei on the Oregon defensive front, they had success in the first game. Charlie Becker, a guy who didn't play for Indiana in the first game, who's made some huge, huge plays for them, especially in their game in the Rose Bowl. Yeah, it was a blowout, but look at some of the plays that he made. And I think with Cooper and Surratt, Charlie Becker can really be the X factor tonight because Oregon's defensive strength is in that kind of middle 7-8 positions there. But what happens to Indiana if they get smacked in the mouth tonight? Out of the gates. I think it's way more imperative in this game for Oregon to get off to a good start than it is for Indiana. But I'm really kind of interested to see the chess match between these two. This number's actually dropped down to 3 now. It's still 3.5 in some places, but it's dropped down to an even 3. So we've seen a little bit of line movement here. Read into that what you will. Some people want to know a lot about what the general public is betting or what the sharps are betting. I think this is a good football game between two damn good football teams here, and I think the winner of this game wins the national title. Total on tonight's game, 48.5. I'm definitely going on the underside of that one. But I got the Ducks at plus 3.5. I can't tell you they're going to win the game. I can't. But I think this is a field goal game. I think these two teams are legitimately the best two teams in this field. And have been since we started. I thought Georgia was going to be able to make a run. They ran into the Ole Miss story. Speaking of, if you haven't seen it today, guy we've talked a lot about over the last couple of days and weeks because of his play, Trinidad Chambliss, whose waiver was denied by the NCAA today, meaning barring a successful appeal, he is not going to be back at Ole Miss next year, which then would obviously mean he enters the draft, you would assume. And where does he fit in a weaker quarterback class? But tonight, I'm on the Ducks plus 3.5. under 48.5. It's a field goal game to me, so that number does really matter. And I'm not surprised to see it go down to 3. It's not going to 2.5. If you've watched the line movement on this game since we knew it was officially a game, it's not going to 2.5. 3 is the best you're going to get it if you're on the Indiana side. It goes to 2.5, you're going to have to be all over it. You're going to have to be stalking it. Oregon's going to have to be way more successful on third downs tonight and not be in the third and longs where Indiana can feast on you. I think if Oregon forces 2 turnovers tonight, they win the football game, assuming they don't have 3 or 4 of their own. The other thing tonight I think is huge for Oregon, where you can see a guy like Kenyon Sadiq, who I love, have a huge game tonight, is they got to get the ball out of Dante Moore's hands. They've got to get it out quick. They've got to settle him in, because the one thing that you've heard from a lot of Oregon people leading into this game is they felt like Dante Moore was very rushed in their first matchup. Made a lot of uncharacteristic mistakes because there was too much going on. And that's kind of what Indiana does to you. I think if Oregon can control their turnovers tonight and they can get Indiana to 2, I think they win the game. I want to see what happens if Indiana really gets punched in the mouth by a good team, because nobody's been able to do it. And I can't emphasize this point enough. And you can say your counterpoint is, well, Indiana got bounced right away last year too. I understand that. But Indiana wasn't the undefeated number 1 seed that got plastered in the Rose Bowl by the 8th seed. That was Oregon. Tosh Lupoi on his way to Cal, Will Stein on his way to Kentucky. Mac thinks that's a detriment. And his point being, with the transfer portal open, it has to have had to been really hard for those 2 guys to stay focused on the task at hand. I can't go back to the point of last year enough for me, and I think that's what separates this Oregon team and actually gives them a chance in this game, is what that coaching staff learned last year from having the year that they had and getting just their asses handed to them in their first game in the CFPs. That's why I think Oregon has a shot in this game. And I know Indiana was in the same spot last year, but they weren't the undefeated number 1 seed that got their asses kicked. That's how Oregon's going to have to win the game. Commit to the run. Be stubborn like Miami, even if you're barely not even getting to 4 yards a carry, because you need the run to be there. And you got to get the ball out of Dante Moore's hands. If you're Indiana, you just keep doing what you're doing. Don't turn the damn ball over. No sense in reinventing the wheel. They're 14-0 for a reason. I can't wait. I freaking can't wait to see this game. Like, if I could finish this in 10 minutes and turn that game on right now, I would. Thankfully, we got a little bit of time after that. So, the winner to play Miami on their home field. This is going to be a good one. And I hope last night was just an appetizer for what we're going to see this weekend, man. Because you look at these wild card game picks and everything. I mean, just, again, I know we played the one game last night, but look at that. Isn't she beautiful? It almost brings a tear to my eye. The Panthers, who have no shot against the Rams tomorrow, so that'll probably be a blowout. Packers and Bears is on Prime Video. That's ridiculous. I mean, sure, could I see the Rams-Panthers game maybe getting out of hand? Yeah. Do I think it's going to? No. And if you missed it yesterday, TJ and I tried to pull off our heist like we did in 12 Days of Bowlsmiths. We made a pick for every game. The ones that we were different on, we flipped a coin because that's sound logic. Hell, it was sound logic the first time. We went 9-4 in the 12 Days of Bowlsmiths. So how did we lay it out? We went Panthers plus 10.5. Bears on the money line. We got the Bills at -1. Brock Purdy for an anytime touchdown. The Patriots minus 3.5. And Nico Collins for a 20-yard reception or more as his longest reception. It's a huge one. $5 pays almost $700. Are we going to go 6 for 6? Likely no. I'll take another 4-2 out of it, though. But what a weekend. If you missed our touchdown play, we did a touchdown trio on Wednesday's show. Don't worry, I got you. 2690, I believe it is. A little hidden behind the logo there. But I went with DeAndre Swift, Mac, closet Patriots fan that Mac is. Went with Drake May for an anytime touchdown. TJ going with Kenny Gainwell on Monday Night Football in that Texans-Steelers final game of Super Wild Card Weekend. Interesting numbers up there. And today we have our top 12 favorite plays of the weekend, and I told you there was a catch to it. So Mac sent me his yesterday. And in classic Mac fashion, he went a little off the reservation. That's why we love him, because he's the most unpredictable one on the show. So our top 12, which is now 11, favorite player props for the weekend. And then I'll have some thoughts on, to take something from Scott Van Pelt, the GOAT, some winners, if you will. We'll just try and pick some damn winners of these games. That's hard enough at this time of year. But the one that we're not going to use from Mac is he sent me either Saquon Barkley or Christian McCaffrey to have a receiving and rushing touchdown each. So one of the two of them to have both touchdowns, receiving and rushing. As we know, Christian McCaffrey can throw a pass or two every now and then. That one I was not able to find anywhere that would let me parlay it together. So I thought about how I wanted to play these. It's 12. I might throw a buck on the 11 of them, because all it's worth is a buck. It's a crackhead's pipe dream to try and hit a 12-leg player prop parlay this weekend. But that one of Max we threw out. So the picks of Max that we were able to use, these are Max. He likes Bryce Young for an anytime touchdown. I can see that. I think Carolina's going to have to be really creative in their offensive play calling while still keeping Bryce Young in his groove. I can see him getting loose, kind of a Carson Beck kind of broken play towards the goal line with the pressure that the Rams defense puts on and getting in for an end zone. Getting in for an end zone. You know what I meant. Travion Henderson, 50 yards rushing or more. Obviously, that's an alt line against the Chargers. Travion's been a huge, huge factor in what the Patriots have done this year, especially late in the season. So I like that one there. Obviously, getting yards on the ground against the Chargers defense, not the easiest thing in the world, but hey, if Woody Marks can do it a couple weeks ago, so can Travion Henderson. And then these two bozos, and when I say these two bozos, I'm talking about Mac and TJ, because you see the bottom one there, the Steelers to make 4 field goals. Part of that is tongue-in-cheek from Mac, part of it really not tongue-in-cheek from Mac, because if you look at the matchup on Monday, can you not see the Steelers winning 12-10 on 4 Chris Boswell field goals? Because I can. But Mac's got a couple of good individual numbers there to bet as well. I mean, the minus 154, that's a hell of a lot of juice to pay on something. But you look at those other two, decent pays there. So those are Mac's 3. I would say the only one I would consider probably the long shot of his list would obviously be Bryce Young on the anytime touchdown, but I think it's a good mix there. So Mac can get you those 3. No, I did not do the math and put these together before the show because, again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh yeah, these are 11 locks. Hit our paid pick service. No, none of that. Because we're not guys you want to pay for picks. We give you our picks. We get some of them right. We get some of them wrong. We tell you why we think what we think. You can fade us. You can run with us. Now, TJ's, I will say this. When he gave it to me after the show last night, I put it in and, made the play for the 4. Different site here, obviously. Some of you can tell which one I made this one on. But these are TJ's plays, player props for the week. And he likes Colston Loveland in the Bears-Packers game to find the end zone. Love that play. Loveland, that play. Cam Little for over 8.5 kicking points. I'll have some more thoughts on why I think that's an even better bet. The fact that I was able to find it at plus 100, I love that. Dallas Goedert for an anytime touchdown against the 49ers for the Eagles. Love that, especially at plus 200. And I was a little surprised to find the Justin Herbert interception prop as low as it was. Normally on these interception props, they're juicing them to like a minus 170. So I felt like minus 120 there wasn't a bad play. TJ's, if I can find it in front of me here, $5 will get you about a $1.70. I really like TJ's group here, and again on Max, I think there's some good stuff. I wouldn't take the Travion Henderson at the minus 154, but I put his together, and I was like, you know what, I like that. I might actually bet that twice. Who knows? So those are tees. Here's mine for the weekend. I like a lot of receivers this weekend, if you can't tell by that graphic. I think all of these guys are facing defenses that are going to give them opportunities here. Puka Nacua to get to 8 receptions. Obviously, there's going to a ton of attention paid to him. We're assuming Devontae Adams is 100% healthy. He has no injury designation, but it is his first game back in a little while. So, and we've seen it with the Rams. They throw a lot of short, quick passes to Puka Nacua. So, plus 105 to get him to 8 receptions. Jacoby Myers, kind of the same concept in the way the Bills play defense and the style of defense that the Bills like to play. Sean McDermott's postseason defenses we've talked about a lot. So Myers to get to 5 receptions there. Obviously, that means Trevor Lawrence has got to be on his stuff, which is a big risk. A.J. Brown over 5.5 receptions against the Niners. Again, I think the Niners are going to give up a ton of yards in that game. They're going to. But at the same time, while everybody lauds Seattle's performance in shutting down the Niners offense last weekend, let's keep in mind that the Seattle offense wasn't particularly fantastic in that game either. So clearly the Niners made some adjustments to slow down the passing attack of the Seahawks. They just couldn't stop the run. I think A.J. Brown gets the 6 catches. I think he probably gets the 6 catches fairly easy, especially if the Niners can come down and get ahead in this game early. But against that Niners secondary and the way Philadelphia likes to run their offense, I like A.J. Brown for 6 catches. And Quentin Johnston, longest reception over 19.5 yards. Actually, when I was making this bet, it dropped from 20.5 to 19.5. I kind of talked about this one with T a little bit yesterday. I think that LA is going to be in a position where they're going to have to throw the ball down the field. New England doesn't have the greatest pass rush, so Quentin Johnston in some space maybe catches a little like 10, 12, 14-yard kind of crosser, gets another 10 or 15 out of it. They obviously like to go to him deep a lot, so I think you got a couple different angles to play there. Mine is ironically, on the more conservative approach, so it'd take you about $12 to get to 164 on that one. So there's our 11 player props for the weekend. Let's get into some of these games, though, a little bit. And again, in the Rams-Panthers game, I think everybody expecting this to be a blowout, an absolute no contest. If you're looking around to see the experts' picks and anything else that you're looking for. Patriots and Chargers, pretty kind of split here as far as scores go. A lot of people expecting the Patriots to cover the number for the most part, seeing 20-14s, a lot of 24-17s, but I'm also seeing a lot of people that think it's going to be a 27-24, 26-23 kind of game, and that's kind of where I'm at with it. So I think that Justin Herbert has a lot to prove in the postseason. I don't think it's fair to gauge him entirely on this postseason because the dude has been hit more than any other quarterback. He's been sacked more than any other quarterback. We've talked about the offensive line injuries for the Chargers. And I think that's why, and Harbaugh and Sirianni are going to say whatever they're going to say. But those are the two coaches that looked like they were playing for the first-round matchup that they wanted. And I can't say that I blame Harbaugh because New England, the one thing their defense doesn't do great is rush the passer. So that'll be an interesting one. Again, I think the Panthers at 10.5 is the way T and I played it. I think the 10.5 makes me like the Panthers. If it was 10, I would be a little more hesitant because I could see it being a 27-17 game. So that's why I think the hook's important in that range. Would I be shocked if the Panthers beat the Rams? No, I wouldn't. Because they've already done it. Does that mean it's going to be the same game? No, I don't think Matthew Stafford's going to play as awful as he did the first time they played Carolina. I just think the Rams are a better team, so I can see it being a, 33-24 kind of game, a 27-17 kind of game. But I think it's going to be a better game than people think. I think everybody that saw that schedule went, oh, great, here's the first one. It's going to be an ass-kicking here. And the Rams are easily going to cover that 10.5. Carolina makes you play their way. They just don't really have the talent to out-talent you on every single play, and that's the thing. But we've seen Carolina step up to the plate, especially at home, especially against better teams. I think Carolina's got more of a shot in that game than anybody else thinks. Bears and Packers, we've talked about this one a lot. One more thing on the New England and Los Angeles game. A guy I think could have a big game that could swing this thing in LA's favor, though, is definitely Omarion Hampton. I think we haven't seen him play his best ball yet because of injuries that haven't let him really kind of get into a groove. I think if Omarion Hampton has a big game for the Chargers, that Chargers plus 3.5 looks really good. Bears and Packers, I still don't get it one bit whatsoever. How Green Bay is favored in Chicago. I mean, it's come down to more of a pick'em now. But, I mean, I even have a play in this, an alt line play in that game of Bears minus 2.5. Like, I just don't see why we would look at the current state of this Packers team and think that they're better than this Bears team. And I know the Bears can leave a lot to be desired offensively until late in games when they make comebacks, and their defense is not very good. But Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, whether you want to admit it or not, they have something. That's going to be a fun one. And then we get to wake up on Sunday, and for the game that I'm going to be paying the most attention to. Obviously, I'll pay a lot of attention to Niners-Eagles, but the game of all the games, my team included, when I saw the schedule come out and lay out and the matchups, was Buffalo and Jacksonville. Because much like, to reference the Eagles-Niners game, I don't know which teams are going to show up for who. This is another one. And what happens to Buffalo if Sean McDermott and the Bills get bounced in this game? And how much do we trust Jacksonville? I mentioned it yesterday, and the thing that I said yesterday I think is very, very important in this game. We know Jacksonville from last year to this year and the amount of turnovers that they've forced, it's night and day difference. Turnovers can, at times, be a problem for Josh Allen. But Carolina. Jacksonville also plays a lot of zone defense. And Josh Allen, I almost said Josh McDaniels. Now we're having fun on a Friday, apparently. Josh Allen, 71.7 QBR against zone defense. He is the second best quarterback in the league against zone defenses. I think a guy I actually like a lot in this game for a touchdown, if you're looking like for a value guy for a touchdown, is Jackson Hawes of the Bills. We've seen him find the end zone. We've seen him help as Buffalo continues to struggle to find that decisive playmaker who's not named Kincaid, Cook, or Allen. I think you're going to see all of the tight ends for Buffalo, and Kincaid, and Knox, and Hawes, to try and just throw the Jaguars off. I think Joe Brady is the most important person in this entire football game. So what do Joe Brady and Josh Allen cook up for this Jacksonville defense to throw them off, to back them off? I'm sure there's going to be a shit ton of Bills fans in Jacksonville. Not a hard trip to get there from Buffalo. And I mean, where do you want to be right now? Buffalo on January 9th or sunny Florida on January 9th? I can't wait to see this freaking game. I think Joe Brady is the most important factor in this game. And I really, really do think Jackson Hawes is going to get a chance to get his hands on a football in the end zone. With Sean McDermott's defenses in the postseason and not really thinking I can trust this Jacksonville team, I think their offense is really clicking right now. And their defense has been very good all year. But if Josh Allen starts carving up that zone, what happens? I definitely think this is an over game for sure for me. Because I know what happens to Sean McDermott defenses in the playoffs, especially in games that they lose. We ended up going with Buffalo -1 on that one. I think legitimately that is a coin flip game, and I can't wait to see it because if Buffalo doesn't get the job done, I don't know if by the time we get back on the air Tuesday, if Sean McDermott's still the coach of the Bills. And that's something we've talked about a lot. Can Buffalo's defensive line get to Trevor Lawrence, create some pressure, create some havoc, make Trevor uncomfortable? Niners-Eagles, middle of the day Sunday. There's a lot of interesting storylines in this game. A kind of a budding rivalry, if you will, I guess you could say. NFC title game where the Eagles smacked the Niners, blew up Brock Purdy's elbow at the beginning of the game. Niners go into Philly the next year and smack the Eagles in the regular season. Trent Williams with an epic personal foul at the end of that game. I believe, if I remember right, that was the Dre Greenlaw Big Dom game as well. So a lot of respect, I think, between these two teams. We know there's incredible respect between Kyle Shanahan and Vic Fangio. We know what Vic Fangio's defenses do. They make it extremely difficult for you to score in the red zone. Niner fans, how thankful are you for Eddie Pinheiro, instead of Jake Moody? Because in this game, you're probably going to see a lot of Eddie Pinheiro. And I think the number's 27 for San Francisco. I think if they get to 27, they win the game. This number's an interesting one, and I would say charge at the right time, if you will. Maybe that's my saying for this one, but this one's been kind of interesting because we've seen it at 3.5, we've seen it at 4.5, we've seen it go to 5.5, and now it's 6. And I think that number movement has a lot to do with one guy, and that's Trent Williams, whether he plays or whether he's not. He was on the practice field yesterday. Doesn't necessarily mean a ton. Good sign that he was there, yesterday. But again, it's going to be a wait and see thing. Philadelphia is now favored by 6 in this game on DraftKings, I believe it is. 6. So when I look at this game, take off my fan hat, and what do I see? Well, I see a 49er team that was able to keep Seattle out of the end zone from a defensive standpoint last week that could not score offensively. 2 weeks before that, we saw a Niner team go blow for blow, historical ties throughout the game against Chicago and couldn't stop a nosebleed. If the Niners don't have a plan for Saquon Barkley, this one could get ugly. But we talk about it a lot with this 49ers team as well, and this is the matchup that the Eagles fans so wanted. Let me ask you this when you're thinking about this game. And this is the easiest way I can explain it, where I take the, quote, homer out of it, for those of you that just think I'm blind to what the 49ers situation is. I think if the 49ers win this game, it's a blowout. It's like a 27-10, 27-13. Eagles have no answer for some big plays by the Niners offense. I think if the Eagles win this game, it's a 17-10, 17-13, 21-17 kind of game. So when I look at it, if I'm going to play the angle that I think the Niners either blow them out or the Eagles win in a close game, of course I'm going to play the 49ers plus 6. Because I don't trust the Eagles to blow out the Niners because the Eagles' offense hasn't shown me that yet. Why everybody thinks the Eagles are dangerous? Because if you're trying to get Saquon Barkley going at the right time like he did last year into the playoffs, which catapults your offense to another level, and I think that's been a lot of their issues this year. A lot of offensive line injuries in Philly, and they haven't been able to get the running game going, much like the 49ers. I think a lot of people think the Eagles are dangerous because Saquon Barkley could drop 200 yards on the Niners' head without even blinking. But I trust the Niners with 6 way more than I trust the Eagles to cover 6 because of the Eagles' offense. So I'm going to put the trust in where I trust, and that's on the 49ers side plus 6. I love the Brock Purdy touchdown angle in this one. I love T's play of Dallas Goedert. Don't call me Dennis Goddard. I think that's a good one as well. I do kind of like Mac's play also of, if you can find it, Barkley or McCaffrey, one of the two of them, to have each a rushing and receiving touchdown. Because we know the workhorses are going to be in that one. Chargers, Patriots, we talked about that one. Texans and Steelers, again, this is one on Monday. I don't understand why everybody just assumes easily that Houston's going to win this game. I get it. It's the best defense in the league. But you're playing the Steelers at the end of a 5-day playoff football marathon at home on Monday Night Football with a shot at the divisional on the line. I want to see Pittsburgh and Buffalo in the AFC title game. Could Houston dominate them? Absolutely, they could. The defense is that damn good. It's the same thing with Seattle. Questions about an offense, but a defense that's that damn good. So, yes, I'm not saying I think that Houston has no shot. I think Houston's probably got a better shot in this game than Pittsburgh does. But with this number opening at 2.5 and getting to 3.5 and now being down to 3, I'm very happy that I was able to get the Steelers at plus 3.5. So I said it a couple weeks ago, and I meant it. I think Aaron Rodgers is the most dangerous man on the field in this postseason. And Aaron Rodgers doing his thing. What did Mac do on the show? This is going to be funny because it'll probably freeze me. You know that whole thing, Rodgers helmet? Trying to do the Vegas Mac face. I think Aaron Rodgers takes over in the postseason. I think this is a fantastic way to end this weekend. I think there's a lot of guys that are sneaky good plays in this game on both sides. I'll have some more thoughts on it on our social channels at Mike Arana Show on Monday. But I can't wait to see this freaking game. But the fact that we're just going to dispatch the Steelers because the Texans' defense is that good is putting way too much stock in the Texans' offense being good enough to score on the Steelers' defense if the Steelers' defense plays the way they did last week. The one thing I would say that really concerns me of the Steelers' defense after seeing them play last week is those rando deep balls that got way back and over the head of their defense and led to some big touchdowns for Zay Flowers. So if you're Houston, I think what you're really looking at in this game is a 20-16 final. Why did I bring up 20-16? Easy. That was the score of the game just a couple weeks ago when the Texans went into Los Angeles and beat the Chargers 20-16. What happened in that game? Well, 4 catches, 88 yards, and a touchdown of 75 yards for Jaden Higgins. All the attention gets paid to Nico Collins. Dalton Schultz has been really good for the Texans, but now they have Jaden Higgins that can take the top off of the defense, which is the one thing that would concern me because watching a Steelers defense, And as much as we give them crap, it's worked a lot of the time. We're watching a Steelers defense that's running the same plays that they ran in like 1998. And somehow last week that happened with 2 times over the top on the backside of their defense. It almost cost them that game against Baltimore and maybe could have cost Mike Tomlin his job. Jaden Higgins, I think, is another guy who's a huge X factor in this game on Monday. If Houston can call their offense the same way they did when they went to Los Angeles. But that's the LA Chargers in SoFi Stadium. This is the Pittsburgh Steelers at the ketchup bottle. Yeah, sorry, Acrisure, you don't pay my money. It's the ketchup bottle. That place is going to rock on Monday night. I actually, and T and I talked about this yesterday, I kind of like this game to go over the total. And I think that's good for the Steelers. I think if this game goes under the total, which is at 38.5 right now, this game goes under the total, I think it's a Texans win. I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but again, I think that's the misnomer on Monday night's game is I know the Steelers defense hasn't been a typical Steelers defense this year. And a guy like Jaden Higgins could beat them deep. But at the same time, it's still the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, and this is still the playoffs. And you can talk about the losing streak for Mike Tomlin, the head coach of the Steelers, 6 in a row in the playoffs, but none of those were with Aaron Rodgers. It's a big game for C.J. Stroud. Let's not just assume that the Texans' offense is going to score on the Steelers' defense. So we've seen it plenty of times. What you see in the regular season is not always what you see in the postseason. That's why I think every single game we have this weekend is absolutely fascinating to me because I can see all of them being great, including tonight. So we'll have our typical stuff throughout the weekend for you. We'll have some Peach Bowl thoughts here in just a couple of hours before that game kicks off. TJ After Dark will be Bears and Packers. Sunday night Mac, Chargers, Patriots, Monday night football all have more extended thoughts and some plays on the Texans, Steelers, and then we'll fill you in on the other games as we move through the weekend. Next week, another full load of shows, Tuesday and Wednesday night, 5:30 on the West Coast, 8:30 on the East Coast, and then Thursday and Friday lunchtime live, 11:30 on the West Coast, 2:30 on the East Coast. Feel free to smash that like, follow, or subscribe button. You'd be surprised. Man, I've had a rough English week. You'd be surprised how many of you think you're following and you're not, and that goes a long way. Follow us on all of our social channels, everywhere but Snapchat, because we're not 12 and Snapchat sucks, at Mike Arana Show. And we appreciate all of you guys for always checking in, always supporting the channel and the content. Next week, so many things to talk about. Mac and I will be in on Tuesday night. We'll talk with you throughout the weekend and in these spaces next week. For everybody behind the scenes, for the rest of the crew, I'm Mike. 4 more days of football, baby. Enjoy it. We're out.